let's move to theme, Lost. I think it's super suitable, like super about November. Who is lost in this month? Who feels being lost in November? Really? You don't feel lost? Okay. But still, I think it's very suitable theme for November. And it was illustrated, every month the theme is illustrated also by artists from the city who proposed the theme. I'm sorry, I forgot the city because we saw many of them, but the artist name is Melissa Lee Johnson. I will check the city and tell you later. Okay, then we were thinking what to talk about. There are so many subjects how we can talk about Lost. And we decided to talk about movies, to talk about making movies in the wild. And I think it's very inspiring, and not many of us know how it's actually happened from the inside side. And we'll present you our speaker. We have today Joosep Matjus. Please join us. Who have seen the movie Tuulte tahutud maa? Raise your hand just to get to know. Yeah. So it would be nice to present. Okay, I'll give you the microphone and put the video then.
Oh, all right. So, hello everybody. My name is Joosep Matjus, as said before, and I am 35 years old, Estonian filmmaker, dedicated to documentaries and wildlife films. So I must say that the wildlife film is the biggest passion, or even my obsession. So I've been obsessed about wildlife film. And the reason is that I had a very great grandfather who was a nature man, a hunter, professional hunter, and a great nature photographer. And I got the passion from him. So I was pretty young, I guess about 3 years old, when we started to go to the forest together. I have a photo proof, so it's documented. So, and some people think that probably I wanted to become a nature photographer or a filmmaker from a very early stage, so that I got a film camera when I was 7 years old, and I started to film my dog and dreamed always about being a filmmaker, but that's not true. I got my first photo camera from my grandfather, of course, when I was 15 years old. And I had been together with my grandfather, who has been photographing all the time the nature. I was together with him, but never thought that I could make also photos. This was pretty surprising to me to think backwards, that I never thought that I could also photograph. But the reason why I got the photo camera was that I had an accident. I cracked. Because before that, my biggest passion was sport. I wanted to become a professional cyclist and win a Tour de France one day. I was very determined, and nobody were able to convince me that it will never happen. But I cracked. My will, or I would say my body, was weaker than my will. So, and I couldn't continue because I got a heart problem, or kind of heart was too weak. So, and in that very moment, my grandfather understood that this is the breaking point, or this is the moment to give the camera. And he was so right. And I stuck immediately, and from that very moment I'm completely obsessed about wildlife film. First I was obsessed about wildlife photography, and then I decided to go to study filmmaking. Of course, in the film school, nobody teaches you a wildlife film. They usually teach you how to make feature films, fiction films, how to communicate with the actor and cameraman. But okay, documentary was also there, but documentary filmmakers were not very welcome. But if I started to talk about wildlife film, then I was completely outsider, because nobody couldn't follow what I'm talking about. Wildlife film. What's the reason to do it? Or why are you wasting your time? Even I remember some of my course mates asked me or confess that they never watch wildlife films because wildlife films are so boring. And I must say that mostly I agree. The wildlife films are quite boring. But I would say I'm not inspired by wildlife films, but I'm inspired by films. And my aim is to make a film, not a wildlife film. So you already understand that I'm lost. I just told you I'm obsessed by wildlife films, but it's not true. Okay. Luckily, I have a video illustration because it helps. I would like to show you a clip from my first film, what I made about my grandfather. And then you understand why my grandfather was so inspiring to me. Because this was, what you are going to see, this was our, how I would say, it's not regular, but that was the way we went to the forest and communicate with the animals. Wildlife. Okay, it continues a little bit, but this is, yeah, it's a fairy tale, I must say. It's just a magic. Of course, the film magic is also involved, but still, it was very inspiring when I saw the way my grandfather is going to the forest and communicates with the wildlife, with the nature. And the fact that we said that you heard the strange sound what my grandfather made. This was the moose language. So, and we told to each other that we are going to call the moose. Let's call out somebody. And I got a lot of inspiration from the phrase that calling out somebody. It's like you are calling your ancestor spirits out. You are calling, you give a call, and soon you get an answer, and the moose is coming. It's just crazy. The whole film was about that. And yeah, this is a very unique world. As you see on the video clip, what exists almost every morning, let's say in September, from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and then it's over. You can go to the same place, nothing happens, you don't see anybody, no animals, and you wonder that how these guys can see so many animals, because there is nothing. One of my friend told me that, also asked me that, how do you see when she watched my nature photographs, and asked that, I don't know, how can you see so many animals? If I go to the forest, it's completely empty. I think probably the reason is that she went to the forest in the wrong time. There is always a reason to go to the forest, but if you want to see somebody, I would recommend early mornings and late evenings. But yes, today the topic, let's say the main topic was lost, but it's, for me, it's very hard to talk anything about not being lost is easy, but what is lost means. So I think it's a very slippery ice to start philosophing on this. But if I'm just explaining you what I'm doing, I think you very soon realize that I'm lost, and that's my biggest enemy, fighting with being lost, or try to survive. So as I told you before, that it's almost impossible to study wildlife filmmaking somewhere. To be honest, there are a couple of schools or courses where you can study wildlife filmmaking, but mostly you study it indoors and theoretically. But if you want to get closer to really making the film, you must go outside, you must go to the wild nature and experience. Because without your personal experience, you are not able to get any shot. Because you can read about animal behavior and what we are doing very much, but in real life things are always different, and the situations are completely different. For instance, it's very tricky to film predators, because predators are super smart, super sensitive, and they figure out immediately when the humans are around. They have such a strong feel of scent and great eyesight and so on. So what the wildlife filmmaker is doing, wildlife filmmaker tries to hide himself and his scent. So it's a very common technique is to put out the carcass. It's a bait, a dead animal or something for wolves or bears, foxes. And then to hide in a box. We usually build just a 1.5 to 2 meter box with ventilation, with up to 6 meter high chimney tube, because it's very much needed that the human scent is going as high as possible to evaporate. So, anyways, theoretically, everything is very easy, but generally it takes about 3 years to get the first wolf on the carcass, because nobody trusts. Everybody knows immediately that there is a delicious rotten meat, stinky, very, very good, and almost for free, but the strange box is there. Why is there? It's like usually there is a dead animal and nothing else. You are welcome to eat, but this time it's like a Black Friday a bit. I see, yeah. So the common situation is that the wildlife around, everybody knows that there is food. Nobody dares to go there. The first ones, the most clever ones, are ravens. They come to check out the carcass. First they jump around the carcass, they don't go on the carcass. But if you haven't had the experience before, then you don't know that if you zoom the lens, then the raven immediately recognizes the movement of the lenses inside the camera. Such a tiny, you even don't think about it. But as soon as you zoom, the raven flew away. So you must be very patient about that. First, I would recommend not to film the ravens at all. Just let them come on. Then the second one who comes is usually fox or raccoon talk, but those are, nobody cares about them because they are not trustworthy. So then the bear comes. Bear don't care so much and is quite brave and very hungry usually. But to get the wolf, that's a tricky part. Because wolf is very suspicious, and as I said, it takes 3 years to get wolf used to that situation. That there is a good food and the box, good food and the box. So I would say the wolf has to the wolf must be forced to go on the carcass. Usually it happens in winter time. And usually the first one is the weakest wolf who is really going to starve. And finally, you think that you have succeeded, but you always have to remember that you are never able to fool a wolf. Wolf always knows that you are sitting in this strange box, but now you have gained trust. So it's the wildlife filming is very much about trust. That the cameraman and the wildlife trust each other. Not usually the wildlife has to trust the cameraman. And it's the same with birds. Birds on the nest, foxes on the caves, or it's not caves, it's this. I don't know the word at the moment, but the fox has a kind of nest inside on the ground, and yeah, and you are easily you can easily get used to the fox near the nest, so that if you start going closer and closer every day to the nest, so first you start to be around, let's say in one kilometer diameter radius, And then every day you go 100 meters closer. And in 1 week you are pretty close and start filming. So, but in that sense, there is a theory, and theoretically everything is possible, but on the location you are lost, because there are no clear answers. There is nobody to ask, what should I do next to get this shot or that shot? You have your ideas in your mind, but you are completely alone and have to figure out everything on the way. That's why if with my colleagues, we used to, if we go for a shoot or filming, we usually say good luck. And my colleague always stops and said, oh, luck is very much needed, because everything is about luck. If you are lucky, you get. If you are not, you don't get. You can really prepare everything correct, as good as you can, but if you miss the luck factor, then you are without the result. And for instance, it's very important aspect, let's say, is the wind direction. Every morning I'm going out, the first thing I'm checking is from where the wind blows, because the wildlife gets most of their information from scent, and the wind blows your scent to them if you are on the wrong side of the wind direction. So you must always travel against the wind, so then you are on the safe side. Even the wildlife sees you, they are not immediately scared, or they don't run away, because they don't get the scent. Because the scent is such a strong information, what they trust. They don't trust their eyesight so much, and which is smart, because it's illusion only. But the scent, this is a clear sign that the enemy is coming, or a predator is coming, or now what should do next, or so on. So in the morning I am choosing the wind direction and following against the wind. But the wind is such a tricky thing that it used to change the direction during the day. And I have had very often the situation that I woke up early in the morning, went to the forest in the dark, walked many kilometers, and I see the animals. Let's say I see the moose and 2 calves. Wow, I've dreamed about this shot so long time, many years, I must say. I'm so close, and then I'm going closer and closer, and I try not to spoil the situation. I'm so slow, very quiet, doing everything in slow motion. And then, even the animals don't see me. They jump out and run away. And I'm asking, why? What did I do wrong? But the wind direction has changed for a minute, let's say. Because the wind is such a thing that is looking for the direction all the time. There are very few days when, especially in the morning, the wind is looking for its direction. During the day, it has found the direction already. But in the morning, the most crucial time, it's very tricky. And so, this is the life you have to handle. Nothing depends on you, and everything depends on you. You don't have anybody to blame. Everything is your fault. Am I lost or not? I don't know. Maybe. Okay, let's watch another video clip. It's a trailer of my last movie. This last movie yeah, the trailer is, let's say, outdated already. It was actual 1 year ago. But I even don't know why I would like to show you this trailer, but just to see beautiful nature images. Because this, it's like entertainment. It looks like commercial, but it's not. So yeah, there is a myth that, and it's true, that the wildlife cameramen are usually very calm and not very talkative, and they prefer to be alone. It was a very nice situation. I just explained you the way of thinking of a professional wildlife cameraman. There was one of my colleagues from Finland, Jan Henriksson, came to Estonia to film moose, and I was his guide. I wanted to show him the locations where to find moose, and we traveled together a couple of days. It was a very windy and rainy morning, and I wanted to show him a nice platform where to get the beautiful landscape. So we went there. We even didn't take cameras. We went there and saw that 5 wolves sleeping on the hay balls, and we thought, "Whoa, what to do now?" Okay, we decided to go to go back to the cars and took the cameras and came back, and okay, everything was left. We didn't see wolves anymore. And then we started to have a discussion that Janne said that I'm not sure about these wolves, to film them or not, because I'm here because of moose. To film moose, this is needed. This is what I've asked. And then in 15 minutes the wolf pack came, and we filmed it. And I was so super curious, and I had never seen such thing, and this was like a dream come true situation, to see wild wolves. Wolf pack is coming towards us up to 20 meters. Crazy. It never happened. And I was very overwhelming, and after the session, and I asked Janne that, have you seen such a thing before? And he said, oh, no, I haven't seen it. even considered to not film it, because he was asked to film the moose. So, and it's a very, very common situation that we must be at least we have to how to say, we have to manage to keep our emotions low, because it's a very, very common that we are filming something what we see first time in our life, and we even can't expect to see such things, but we have to be ready for that all the time. So whenever the situation happens, we must be ready to react. Oh, it's getting boring already, but let's have a discussion. And I'm actually very interested about your ideas about being lost and what is this lost is.
Raise your hands. Okay, 1, 2.
Thank you. When you're sitting inside the box and the wolf or a bear, you cannot trick them. They know you're inside the box. Isn't that a bit dangerous? Because maybe they think that you are more tasty than the rotten carcass.
I haven't heard any situation when somebody is being attacked in the hide or in the hideout. So I would say it's not dangerous. I would say it's not dangerous. Though, yeah, it's not dangerous. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Some people are even in the tent, so it's so easy for bear to rip up the tent and eat you. Because I've seen videos when the bears are opening cars to get food, trash or food from the cars, and it's so easy for them. They are opening like cans. They just climb up on the 2 feet, and then they just doing like this kind of movement a little bit, and then the door is gone. So it's for them probably very easy to break the hide, but they are not interested because it's too risky. These human beings, they are tricky, unexpected. But you have a nice, stinky, rotten thing on the ground for free almost. So they choose the easiest, because wildlife is very rational. They take always the easiest prey and always the easiest trail.
Although you've been witnessing these real-time events, however, also editing has a huge impact for storytelling too. So, are you getting lost sometimes to be because in selecting angles, or what kind of editing has point to your point of view? Because Kurosawa just says that you shouldn't have to use the angle if it doesn't fit to editing, even if you spent 1 week in the snow. However, Andre Bazin also, on the contrary, tells that editing is unethical weapon for directors. So.
You probably mean unethical for documentaries.
Even sometimes, probably. But no, some documentaries,
probably not for wildlife films and not for feature films. But yeah, in documentaries there can be there is always the ethical questions around. But always, yeah, that's true. It's the huge pool of footage falls on you when you start editing. It's a piles of footage, and for sure, everybody is in the beginning lost, and you have to really find out the order in the chaos, because you have so many different scenes, shots, shot in a different years. You have to puzzle it together somehow, and it's the filming is hard, but editing is even harder, or it's hard to compare, but it's something maybe on the same level. It is tricky because especially in wildlife films, you are filming in one scene. You can have a shot or shots which are filmed in every shot in different year. Like the first shot 3 years ago, second one 2 years ago, and you are ending the scene with the footage from the last year. So and if you are editing something together, this must have happened in the same lighting conditions, and this is the trickiest part. It's not a problem in California where it's always sunny, but in Estonia we hardly have the same kind of weather 2 days in a row. Maybe 1 week in July, but it's always the light is different, which is great, I must say, but not in editing. Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. Do you just film in Estonia for this wildlife photography, or do you go around the world filming wildlife photography? And what difference do you find in case you go out?
Yeah, I've been filming nature and wildlife in Russian Siberia, in North America, and in Canadian Arctic, on Ellesmere Island. I was about 2 years ago for 10 weeks. It was again typical chaos the wildlife filmmaker or cameraman has to handle. My friend, director from Germany, called me in the middle of May and asked that, are you coming to Ellesmere Island? We are leaving in the end of May, in 2 weeks. Are you coming for 10 weeks? To the end of the world. So that's, you have to make super fast decisions. Are you going or not? And always you have to ask yourself, do you want or not? And if you want, then you can go. So, and that's it. I haven't been anywhere else. And because the nature film projects are pretty long, they last about 3 years. And I've been active maybe 10 years, so that you can count how many projects I have been able to be involved.
Hi.
Hi.
I have seen all your films about the moose and also Tuulte tahutud maa. And I just keep wondering how you get so close up and personal. Is it all about a very good camera and lenses, or are you physically getting closer to the animals?
Of course, it's very, very much about the camera equipment and the lens, because nowadays lenses are pretty long and you easily can film a wildlife from 30 to 50 meters. It depends on the size of the wildlife. Let's say moose, you can easily film from 50 meters, no problems. And again, to get close is very much about luck. There are some days in the year where the wildlife is not afraid of people, I must say. Some day they come very close. The other days they are super shy and got scared easily. So, and with the birds is easier because you just set up a height and wait until they come closer to the height. But it's the same logic, the same method, that the birds have to get used to the height or a hiding tent, and it takes a week. And if they are used, then you one day in the dark you get into the height, and if you are lucky, then they come closer. Yeah, that's it's about luck finally.
Hello, I liked very much your talk, and especially this first clip you showed about the moose. And my question is that why do most nature filmmakers use very rapid camera movement and very much this sound over all kinds of musics? Because I'm especially fond of natural sounds. There, in your first clip there was birds singing in the forest. It is really such a feeling that you are there with this grandfather doing things. And I had a dog, and she was especially fond of all kinds of films with the dogs and with the natural sound also. She didn't want to watch any film with too rapid movement, but she liked natural sound. And why don't you use in your films too as much natural sound as possible? Filmmakers, not you personally, but filmmakers.
Yeah, I think I've been thinking also about it, and probably the answer is that traditionally the nature film belongs to TV. And what is TV? TV is entertainment. You have to compete with cartoons, commercials, whatever action films which are running on the other channels. So the wildlife film producers are so afraid to lose viewers, so that that's the reason why they are very conservative and using these fast movements and a lot of, I would say, even tasteless music, I must say. So that there is a constant voiceover and the music. Orchestras are playing, and they are just pushing up the emotions in the scene. But it depends. Finally, like everything depends on the viewers. If the viewers would watch the film with slow movements and natural sound, probably the producers would produce this kind of movies. But finally everything is about entertainment. And this part maybe I don't like so much in this genre.
So, can I ask another one?
Yes.
When you start to make a movie, do you have an idea what you roughly want to get, or you just take what the animals give you? Because you can't just make them act for you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another aspect of being lost. That you are in the beginning you are lost, and in the end you are lost. In between you try to figure out what to do. So yes, I personally, we have to write a script to get funded, to get money from the foundations. It's needed to have script, otherwise you don't get anything. But to write the script for a wildlife film is it's kind of, again, very slippery ice that you must be very careful what you are writing there, because I know the situations when the producers or funders start asking the things what you have promised in the beginning in your script, but how to get it. You just say that, then the bear is coming, sees the moose, go to the moose and kills the moose, for instance. So it can happen, and it's been filmed, but how can you promise that this will happen in 3 years? Because usually the filming period is 3 years, and you have to manage. You are really running with the time. And so you have a theoretical script which is based on your experience so far, and I personally write only things what I think is realistic to get. Kind of. And finally, in the real life, it's not like I'm going out randomly somewhere and filming whatever I see. I have my intention, but I get everything, or I take everything what nature offers. So, yeah. And finally, you end up in a chaos, and you have to figure out how to make the movie out of it. So it's hassle. And
Okay, we have time for 2 more questions, I think. Anyone from here? Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about what do you think about the future of wild filming, and do you think that wild films about wildlife should replace the zoo parks? Because it's more like a film about nature, showing like animals in their natural habitat. Neither that in the zoo they incarcerated not in the cages and not living in natural way.
No, yeah, very hard to say. I personally think that it will not replace the zoo park, because people still think that the zoo park is more real than the film.
But is it true? It should or not?
Maybe.
Yeah, people thinking like, oh, it's much cooler to see like closer, but for me, especially, I like to watch wildlife movies, and you like see the all the animals in very like intimate moments or something like that.
Yes. About zoo parks, I don't know very much about zoo parks, but probably they are needed, because I know very nice and very smart people who are running those parks. They must have some kind of idea, but I don't know. So I hopefully it's needed for something.
Yeah, 1 more question.
Hi, can you tell us your scariest story while filming in nature?
Sorry? Scariest story. Usually I'm avoiding those scary situations. But once I have one situation when I was filming moose. It was moose mating time, and the bulls were very competitive and full of testosterone and so on, and aggressive. And then I was sitting on the edge of the field and calling moose, and the moose came, and it was obviously had fight with another bull, and full of aggression, and came and didn't realize or didn't recognize me, or thought that I am a bull moose. So because I was standing there, camera on the tripod, camera and long lens, and the long lens is very, very much similar to the moose nose. It's kind of, maybe in the distance you don't even make a difference. So, and the bull came, and then he started to make its ritual walk, which is kind of on the very stiff legs, and then tries to turn his head and show the antlers, so that, hey guy, look what I have. It's better not to fight with me. And of course I was not interested in fighting, and then I decided to raise my hands and clap my hands, and then the bull woke up, and because the animal was very, very closer than ever before. And I really got afraid, and it's very often that with the big animals, they come closer, and it's so strange that you realize that, oh, they are so big, they're really big. And then I always try to be as calm as possible, as stable as possible, because it's most awful thing in the film is the shaky shot. And then I usually one of my legs is doing like this, and I'm very calm myself. Because you never know what this animal is going to do. Because the big animals, they have quite weak nervous system and they can just get scared in some reason, and I don't know. Maybe that's the scariest. No, but...
So how was it ended? You clapped your hands?
Yeah, I clapped the hands and then he slowly walked away. So.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. As we're having more and more.
Are you somehow connected or cooperating with some natural protection of Estonia, as like the nature of Estonia is your source of work, sort of? So are you somehow active or more like focused on some other organizations trying to protect the nature?
Not directly, but some connections I have, but I haven't done anything, to be honest, to protect nature. So, yeah.
I have a quick one. Can you teach us something in Moose language?
Yeah, but I have a very strong accent. But the idea is simple. They have a couple of words. I don't know. I think Moose have a common language. They have really this kind of, like we have English. They speak their own Moose English. But the moose sound is very close to the horse. That's the bull is doing, as you heard. It's like we just like This is the bull moose coming slowly. When we made the film together with my grandfather, then we just walked slowly and made this. and the cow moose is doing more powerful, like longer, like horse a bit. And sometimes they do. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun there.
It's very funny. We should make an interactive program, about that. I think. Well, any more questions? I think and then I will also ask one to wrap up.
I just wanted to go back to your film school days and ask. If you go to film school, you're a young guy and everybody keeps telling you for 3 years, I guess that wildlife filmmaking is not really an option. So what made you actually stick to it? And you could also try different types of films. So why did you, what did you tell yourself, or why did you stick to wildlife filmmaking?
Yeah, because of my grandfather, who has introduced me to nature. And as you saw from the clip, that the way he introduced the world, this parallel universe, what exists so close, what's going on there, and and it lasted through my childhood, and I got so affected that my biggest, I don't know, will or aim was to introduce this world to others. So otherwise they don't believe what I'm talking about. So probably I wanted to share my own experiences in nature.
But did you have any doubts?
No. No doubts. Only now I'm started to doubt.
Okay, then I'll come closer and ask my, last question, as we are fortunately running out of time. So thank you all for very nice questions. I even was thinking of what could I ask, but maybe moving back to city, how are you preparing when you're living in the city in all these constant problems and things, and then you know that you're going to the wild, how you prepare yourself to slow down and be that much patient to catch animals?
Hard to say. Maybe tomorrow I could answer differently, but today I feel that it doesn't matter where you are. You must because it's an illusion that if you go to the forest or wild nature, that you calm down. You are as restless as you are in the city, because it's everything about your inner life. And it can even be worse to go to the nature when you are restless, because there everything is accumulates, so kind of all your problems become even bigger. Okay. There is also a chance that you find yourself and so on. But I think both are needed. Both are needed, because there must be a communication between these two worlds. Because it's, and I found it very helpful that I have experience from the city environment and in the nature. I can share, I can compare it, because these are like two wings you have to develop inside to fly.
Thank you. Thank you. Feeling a superstar. Okay, thank you all for coming. We are still here. If you have some questions you want to ask, you can come here if Joosep have some time. And from my side, thank you all for coming, waking up early and being lost. Go to forest on weekends. You get a little bit wild. I wish you good Friday, great weekends, and see you in December. So, what? Anya is showing me something. We'll have event on December, and we will let you know when and what it will be about. Hope you will be in the city. If not, then we'll see you next year. Then, okay, have a nice day. Thank you. Bye. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram and everything.